an authority himself. Okay? He is an authority himself because he is the presiding judge of Mandaue. Okay? Let us all welcome Brother Judge Marc Joseph Quirante.
Brothers and sisters in Christ, my God. I'd like to introduce myself once again. I am Marc Joseph Quirante, and I have been a member of Bcbp back in a different chapter. I belong to Bcbp Cebu. And I have been a member since 2003, so it will be my 20th year as a Bcbp member. But thank you so much. So I'd like to thank Bcbp Talisay for the invitation. It has been my longing to come back to Schoenstatt, and thankfully the Lord granted my wish. Through Bcbp, I was able to come back to Schoenstatt. And seeing all of you here this afternoon, I would like to congratulate you for being able to finish, about to finish Bclp. So give yourselves a round of applause. And I'd like to congratulate in advance Bcbp Talisay for what is shaping up to be a very successful CLP. Another round of applause. And lastly, we thank the Lord for bringing us all here together on a Sunday afternoon. We're supposed to be in our homes to have a regular family day, Sunday gathering, but we chose to be here, and we thank the Lord. Another round of applause for the Lord. All right, I mentioned earlier that I've been a member of Bcbp for 20 years, and it has been quite a journey. Amazing journey, a spiritual journey. And I'm a strong believer of what we have become is a series of life choices. It's a result of a series of life choices. Along the way, we meet a lot of people who influence us. And as a segue of my sharing this afternoon, I will choose the word sharing rather than a talk. I wanted it to be experiential also. We have to somehow listen to our conscience when we make our life choices. But at times, we also have to need guidance. Now, as a segue to my talk, let me just share a brief story. Just recently, I had a serious talk with my only son. He's about to enter senior high, and we had a long talk because he was contemplating on transferring to another school, and my wife and I tried to convince him to continue with the school that he is currently studying. And I shared to him that, of course, it is your life, you have to make your own decision, but it's your future. But sometimes you have to also consider the guidance of your parents. Take my case, I told him. Sorry for the distraction. Right. I told him about my life decision also, a very pivotal moment in my life when I about to enter law school, medyo nagka-cold feet ko. I decided na lawyering is not for me. Typically shy person. Wala ko'y courage to enter into law school. So, I had a serious talk with my mother also at that time. And I told her na I have decided not to pursue the law studies. But she talked me out of it. Because at that time, I was already taking up political science as my undergrad. And long story short, she was able to talk me out of it. And I decided to pursue my law studies. And after that, looking back, I said it was the best decision of my life because it turned out that I was happy with my profession and my life turned out to be fine. In fact, the current job that I have, I find it fulfilling. So sometimes there are moments that you are not quite sure, you heed the guidance of your authority. Somehow, this will be a segue to my sharing, which is submission to authority. As what Brother Cedric earlier said, this is the last talk of the CLP, Christian Life Program. Now, this is just an introduction of our very own culture in the Bcbp community, so that we would know what you are getting into. What kind of culture does Bcbp follow? One of the important elements or way of life in Bcbp is submission to authority. Right? Now, may I ask you, how do you relate to these individual terms? Submission and then authority. How do you relate to that? Medyo not too positive, right? They are already adults, no? Gusto tayo ikaran pa ka, di ba? However, this one, the one that we are trying to inculcate to our future brothers and sisters in the community is the kind of authority that comes from the place of love and understanding. So it's not something that you are being dictated upon, itaranda. So submission to authority is part and parcel of Bcbp governance, Bcbp membership. Alright, let me just share you briefly what attracted me initially to Bcbp is the mission. And I'm sure you've heard of it already, that the mission of Bcbp is to bring Christ into the marketplace and winning the marketplace for Christ. Now, prior to Bcbp, I'm a member also of other religious communities. But what really attracted me to the community is that it has a very clear and cohesive mission. Because all of us as Christians, we all know that it's a core Christian teaching that we have to evangelize. That's what Brother earlier said. It is our calling to be evangelizers. But in Bcbp, our mission, we're not expected to go to the streets and preach. Magdala o microphone, set up a sound system, or go door to door, knocking on a stranger's house. No, that is not what we are expected to do. Unsa man, very unique. We are required to stay put in our respective network, in our respective environment, where we are right now as businessmen and professionals, and to fulfill our duties and our mission. Just to remind you, we have been hearing this, we are called upon to be salt of the earth and light of the world, to evangelize. So we are still in our comfort zone. But somehow, we are also required to step out of our comfort zone. In fact, just to share with you, I have a very natural aversion to public speaking. It's quite ironic. I am a lawyer by profession and now I'm a judge, but I still dread public speaking. However, because of Bcbp, we have to adhere to a directive. When an invitation came, I talked to myself, I said, it's another chance for me to step out of my comfort zone to give a sharing this afternoon. That's why I'm here with you this afternoon. Alright. Now, authority is what we understand regard our BCBP leaders. In each chapter, we have a governance team. Like chapter head, we have the service directors, and every directorates. And soon enough, you'll find yourself in a small cluster, a small group known as action group. No? And in action group, you are under the authority of the action group leader. In your small group. And these leaders are assigned to be your shepherds. So a lot of shepherding and pastoral care is expected in every cell. And from this, the BCBP has created a framework so that all BCBP chapters are designed to fulfill our mission earlier, to bring Christ to the marketplace and build the marketplace for Christ. So it provides a framework. But in each chapter, they are free to shape their own path in achieving that goal. So in every chapter, they mandates, directives. And we are called upon supposed to have a guide here. To lead to an authority, which is considered as a body person who has the right to determine policies, directives, and to establish rules to govern the BCBP and lead its members. Now, when I was preparing this talk, actually this is the first time that I'm giving this sharing. When I was preparing these slides and for this sharing, there was some kind of a realization on my part that this particular topic is not designed mainly to the members, incoming members, but also to the leaders. It is sort of a reminder that when we lead, we have to be good followers also. Right? We have to have a good leadership skill. We need also to be a good follower. Okay. So the next term in the topic is submission. When you decide to join BCBP, you have decided to commit yourselves, to dedicate yourself, because the reason why you decided to join BCBP is because you want to nurture your relationship with the Lord. You want to grow. Have spiritual maturity. Kung na ang common goal, di ba? In joining the BCBP community. So somehow, we have to accept the fact that there are people above us. And perhaps BCBP hierarchy or structure rather is also patterned after the very structure of the Catholic Church. No? Diba? Do we get to elect our church leaders, our parish priests? No. Do we get to elect our pope? No. They are appointed through prayer and discernment. You will soon realize that BCBP as a community is a praying community. We make prayer an important part of our lives. It's next to breathing. Now, why? Why does it play a very important role? Prayer is where you seek nourishment. It is when you seek guidance. And part of being a good follower is submission to authority, which is to comply or obey the directions, policies, and rules governing the BCBP and the chapter where he or she belongs. So, baka na siya, no? This is just a brief introduction of this particular topic. As what I said, we come from different backgrounds. No? We may be presidents of our respective businesses, leaders in our communities, but when we join a Bcbp activity, you check in your titles before you enter, because all of us are placed in a similar position. Right? Alright, next. Just to give us a background of this particular mandate and submission to authority. Submission to authority is a necessity for a healthy society or organization such as the Bcbp. We are bombarded, no? We are bound by rules and regulations. Even coming here in this venue, you have to follow rules, traffic rules. And you know the reason, no? The rationality behind it, gano'n na yung mga balawag, to have an orderly traffic flow, diba? Wala yung mga violators. But on our way here, we're very amused, no? Yes, may blackout. Naila ko kayo sa no U-turn, but taxi ahead of us, U-turn din siya. So, but my point here is, you have to follow rules and regulations. Without authority, there will be, of course, chaos. It's not difficult to understand. To have an orderly conduct of our activities. Di man pwede na in each group, kailangan mo direction, di ba? In one direction, the leaders would check on us so that it is in line with our objective. Ultimately, our goal is to bring Christ to the marketplace. But, of course, through prayer, we can also practice discernment because our leaders, human as they are, we don't expect them to be perfect. They are also imperfect people who suffer from shortcomings. Diba? So, we also as members need to call the attention of our leaders because being a member called upon to submit to authority does not mean that we have to submit even to the point of being a blind, servile, obedient member. So we need to make a call out, no? In a loving manner, brotherly correction. Anyway, we will have many more talks about this topic. But this is just an introduction of what it's like to be in the Bcbp community. Another background is submission leaders, though imperfect, have been placed in that position either by God's direction or permission. As what I said earlier, the choice of leaders does not come from the membership. This is not a democracy. We get to choose to elect our leaders. They are chosen through proper discernment by the people also about them. Okay? Now, since they are ordained, quote unquote, to be our leaders, we are under obligation to follow them. Just to maintain unity in one direction, in one pattern. And then next, obedience to the leaders in a community such as the Bcbp is crucial, very important, because we entrust our spiritual lives not only to ourselves, because we are not operating individually, but as a community. Diba? Jesus, when he had his ministry here on earth, also had a group, a core group, a community. So a communal life is very essential. The saying is, no man is an island, is quite applicable in Bcbp. Diba? When you were invited for the first time to join a breakfast fellowship, you were inspired by that sharing of the life sharing of the brother and sister. So it is through the experiences of our brothers and sisters that we are inspired and we help each other nurture each other's journey. Alright, But sometimes, there are hindrances in submitting to authority. So like I said, we come from different backgrounds, like total positions at mga organizations or businesses. So there are notable hindrances. We always resist. Resistance to authority is born about by different factors. Again, but these are just a few and notable. First, a reaction to a previous culture. Sometimes we are so engrossed with what we are used to in our organization, in our civic or social organization, in our business organization, in our profession, and then we try to inject it in the community. We do it differently in our group. So there's always a resistance. You always react negatively to the ideas or activity that is contrary to what you are being used to. Now it is time to re-evaluate that because we do it differently in our community. And second, a rebelliousness found in the world today. Okay, I remember a story of a office worker who drives himself to work every day, and in order to shorten his travel time, siya na tinawag na access road. He used it daily. Okay, mas dali ito in reaching his office. One day, he noticed, before entering that road, that access road, there was a big sign. It says, "Turn around, road works are ongoing." But he said to himself, "What can happen? This was not here yesterday. Perhaps siguro magsugod ay progress." So he disregarded, he ignored the sign and went inside the road. And 30 minutes into the drive, true enough, he cannot pass through because of that. Indeed, not the road works. So sayang, I wasted 30 minutes and then another 30 minutes in going back. So he turned around. And on his way back, of course, he also saw the big sign that was placed in the corner. But this time, he was facing the backside of the sign. And on the backside of the sign, bold letters, "Welcome back, stupid." So he realized that you should not ignore signs. You should heed authority. So that's just a basic example of being rebellious by nature. It's innate. You have to go against what is not the norm. Para sa malahit ko. Another stumbling block is a false notion of humility. Sometimes we are new to the community and we feel unworthy. We are called upon to serve. Soon enough, brothers and sisters, you'll be called upon to serve. Part of the way of life of Bcbp is service in whatever capacity that you will do. You have your own strengths as members and you're called upon to serve. But sometimes, una-una ako ang feeling of being inadequate. I'm not worthy to serve yet. I'm not spiritually mature. Sometimes, you are required to say yes and then worry later. No? When you are called upon to serve. That's like the story of my life. Between me and my wife, I easily accept an invitation. And then I pass the worry to her later on. Because I have difficulty. And you would realize later on that God will properly equip you. Basta you have to maintain your prayer life. Okay? You will be a part of our commitment when you enter the Bcbp community is to maintain a regular prayer life. And this would really help you make a proper discernment. Sometimes it helps us to overcome all these obstacles. Next is a negative reaction against correction or direction. Sometimes we clash. We have diverging ideas, ideas. We approach things quite differently. And when somebody disagrees or does not follow our idea, our feelings will be hurt. Laking din siya, hindi siya mahina na ako. I feel that my ideas are not welcome. Sometimes we realize that although these reactions are normal, at the end of the day, we follow what is expected or our directive. We observe the virtues of good membership as members of the Bcbp community. Another one is to avoid responsibility. I'm so busy. Sometimes Bcbp is known as a group of very busy people. Right? That's why we always say, bro, okay, I'm still busy. And then my initial response is everyone is busy. But probably it's just a matter of time management. Okay? And then lastly, perhaps to encapsulate the rest from A to E is pride. When we are, it's a moment, it's an area of weakness. Sometimes we lose sight of the fact that when we engage in these types of activities in Bcbp, we are engaged in spiritual battle. And then sometimes the opposite forces will attack us sa area where we are very vulnerable. And the most common is pride. So they said, na-hurt akong feelings. Okay? Sakit kaya yung mga words. But in spite of that, let me, takso niya ko na kasi. I embrace my brothers. Sometimes naman, let me take a takso sa ligo. Takso ko siya na. Anyway, so these are what we call as resistance to authority. And it is victorious if you be able to overcome these factors. Alright. So what is authority in the Bcbp? Authority in the Bcbp is, as what I said earlier, this is just in line with what I mentioned earlier. Our leaders are what we call as our shepherds, our pastors, who is tasked to undertake pastoral care. They are considered as a gift of the Lord for unity and direction. As what I said, the commission is just a framework, but each chapter can define how they undertake this mission. And sometimes we need our leaders so that we can have uniformity. That's the role of our authority. And they are there to lead the group to function as one. Okay? It should be, the structure should be that we work differently, but we act with one, in unity. And then, it is part of Bcbp culture that our leaders is also tasked to have a one-on-one with their members, a regular one-on-one session, so that they can also know the pattern of life, so that they can determine the pattern of life that we need that would help us in guiding our spiritual journey. And then, in every session or activity, the leaders would have an assessment to see to it that our goals are acted on. That's why we have an annual planning for our chapter of the various activities that will be taking in each year. So in every planning session, the leaders is also tasked to assess whether the goals have been achieved in the previous year. And then if there are conflicts that may arise, it is bound to happen. So I said, the land background, the upbringing. So we have conflicts, small or major, it depends. The leaders are there always to fix the problem. And generally, to take care of our special needs of persons under our care. There are moments that a member might need special attention. Maybe she needs more prayers for a particular level or any situation that she is facing, he or she is facing. So, as what I said, from the start, we are a praying community. We always ask the Lord and His Spirit for guidance. And then, as what I said, our leaders, we do not regard them as perfect individuals. They also have their shortcomings and flaws. So that's why they cannot, our head is not expected to do all the work. So each member should also contribute, do their part, and contribute to the success. Just like what is happening right now. This is a result of a common effort, not only by the head, but also the members and service committees. And the head is not always the person who does all the work and it's right. It's already what I said earlier. So what is now submission in the submission in the Bcbp is an active relationship involving the family. So it's not as merely a structure na kay leader, about you, but a relationship, a relationship with each other between a leader and a member, the former acting as shepherd. So, submission to Bcbp is to obey directives, policies, and rules established by the Bcbp leadership. So we are called upon to follow the directives and to cooperate and assist the leadership of the Bcbp. And if needed, if we disagree, we are free to correct. But we have to follow the proper procedure. You have to course your concerns to the proper channels. Okay, it must be emphasized that whatever concerns you have, as a member, you have to bring it up to your action group leader, the person directly above you. And then it is now the task of the action group to bring it up to his superior. Next is the unit leader. Right? And then the chapter head. If it becomes, it will not be resolved at their level. So our Bcbp leaders are also tasked to be open to corrections and admonishments in what relates to the Bcbp culture. So as what I said earlier, when making this sharing, this talk applies to both leaders and members. So we should be open to new ideas. Truth be told, sometimes the generation gap because of the new members who belong to the new generation, and the old members who belong to a different generation. Sometimes this conflict can only be resolved through a proper dialogue and in a spirit of a prayerful spirit, a prayerful atmosphere. We have to resolve certain differences in a loving manner. So, as what I said earlier, a submission to all three must come from a place of love and understanding. Next, submission to authority is a personal relationship between the member and the leaders. Leaders and the general membership must be led by the Holy Spirit and must have love as their primary objective. And the leader cares for his flock as they must care, cooperate, and support the leader. Sometimes we apply logic, and practical grounds in making our decisions. But oftentimes we realize later on that the leaders are placed as authority because they have attained a level of wisdom, through guidance by the Holy Spirit. Let me share with you one important conflict that arose in our community. I don't know if this also happened. The conflict also happened in different chapters. In our chapter, I belong to the music ministry, and in our workshop, they're being taught na when you lead the community to worship, you have to perform, you have to sing and play music in such a manner that dili ko no batik, pero isa mo minuton tayo. So do away with blending and harmonization. Do not put too much instruments. At the beginning, I found it hard to accept. Okay, it's also one of the Christian teachings that we give our best to the Lord, di ba? Ngayon, i-preview natin na po improve. But I soon realized that what we think is best is not necessarily the best for the community. Why? Because during worship, music ministry is just another member leading the community in worship. And if you do something that will distract the community from worshiping the Lord, that is not the best option to take. And that is why we have to sort of scale it down a little bit. And then I realized, why ito today? Because when we become too fancy with our music playing and singing, the one who is a member who is worshiping would turn his attention not to the Lord, but to the music ministry. Do not, according to the one who conducted the workshop, do not make it a performance, brothers and sisters. Make it as a group activity. You are one with the group. That's why the music ministry is always at the back or at the side during worship assemblies. So this is an example. At first, I find it contrary to what you are used to, but sometimes at that moment, you find it difficult to accept and follow, and then you realize later on the wisdom about what the directive is all about. Right? Now, as what I said earlier, disagreements are bound to happen. There are conflicts that will be encountered by the members, among members. So if there's a conflict between members, we have to follow certain procedure. We first refer the matter to our AGL, the action group leader. The brotherhood is composed of a cross-section of people with different backgrounds and customs. However, they all have something in common. They love the Lord and are subject to His will. Disagreements are possible without the need to be disagreeable. We might disagree, but we don't have to be contentious or adversarial. No? So disagree lang tayo in principle. Just like what happened during the last election. We support different candidates. Ang uban, nag-unfriend na, pinaglagot na rin sa pitas, di ba? So, we are always reminded that we may disagree, but we don't have to fight each other. We don't have to be adversarial. We don't have to be contentious. Right? So that's why we take it up to our leaders. And sometimes, based on experience, we encounter these conflicts and hindi na hindi ma-resolve. And this is a recurring problem. We check upon ourselves. How do we approach this problem? Do we include it in our prayer time? that's what we forget. We have to include it in our prayer time. Seek guidance from the Lord. Sometimes we find, most of the times rather, we find the answers in our prayer time. And in fact, during our encounters, discussing the problem, sa dalimot of prayer before we start. So we find the answers na related prayer. So after that, miraculously we resolve our differences through prayer. And then we are businessmen and professionals. Sometimes we cannot avoid but having some dealings with our fellow members. Di ba na malitayan, no? Although it is not prohibited, but we are sort of discouraging that, no? When we do business dealings with our co-members. Okay, is like if you one way to break up a friendship, mangutang ka sa iyong amigo. Okay, so that's a very touchy subject. Anyway, that will be part of another culture teaching later on. And then, most of the conflicts that arise between members and its leaders. So, how do we approach? Once again, we follow the hierarchy. We have to follow our organizational procedure, which is to take it up to our action group leader, and then if we are fortunate that it can be resolved, then that's the end of it. But if not, we take it up to our unit leader, and then after that, to our chapter head. Okay? And then, for example, there's also another member who is above him, which is the area managing director. So, I don't think di paghapon ang result na siguro na agad. Right? Unless kung ang conflict is about medyo serious na din, no? Which requires judicial intervention, that's another matter, no? Anyway, so brothers and sisters, we are called upon to, as what I said, to evangelize. And what is so unique about Bcbp is that we don't have to exert too much effort. We just follow the rules of our community, and we find ourselves thriving. Always maintain a prayerful life, because it is the Spirit who guides us along the way. So that ends my sharing this afternoon. Brothers and sisters, have a blessed Sunday. Thank you so much for your
Wow, that's if you hear that kind of talk from an authority himself, no? Notice that the presiding judge submitting himself to the authority of his fellow brothers in the community. I think that is too humbling. Okay, let us give a round of applause to Brother Judge Marc. So, for our discussion starters, we start with this. Are you in agreement? Discussion starters. In what situations would you find it difficult to submit to authority? Again, in what situation or situations would you find it difficult to submit to authority? And number two, how would you react when you disagree with your leader's decision? How would you react when you disagree with your leaders? Will you disagree with your leader's decisions?